She was on island for Guam Live, but songwriter, recording artist, entrepreneur, social influencer, fashionista Pia Mia is back to do it again.
I'm just so excited to see everybody too. The show is going to be good. We're going to have different levels, so you'll get the dancing, you're going to get the acoustic, and then I have a surprise, but I don't want to say it yet.
Also home commemorating the island's 75th liberation is romance enthusiast and U.S. matchmaker on Bravo TV's Millionaire Matchmaker David Cruz. He reflected on the tales his family shared about Japanese occupation.
It's just really hearing, where they were, their stories of sacrifice, their stories of growing and resilience, like Pia said, and really instilling that into me.
Filipina actress Valerie Concepcion and Guam-born actor Benjamin Alves joined 8 other big names to grace the Liberation Parade with their presence. Guitarist and songwriter Rose Laguana is excited to be home to pay tribute to the community.
75th anniversary is a beautiful thing, and I really hope that when we get to the 100th, that the survivors will still be around to tell their story.
We asked each of them what Liberation Day stories and memories were passed on to them, David Cruz and Pia Mia.
What's really important to understand is that Guam has a lot of history. Our ancestors have a lot of history. Our parents, their parents. I live in Los Angeles, and both my grandparents, were here during the occupation. And there are countless stories that I have about, what it was like to be here during that time, and just the everyday and the days that followed afterwards. So for me, it's just really hearing where they were, their stories of sacrifice, their stories of growing and resilience, like Pia said, and really instilling that into me and allowing me to not only be the best tomorrow that I can be, but taking that history and actually owning that responsibility and continuing to tell those stories, because there is not a day that goes by that I ask my grandmother to tell me a story about the island, and she misses it every day. She comes back as often as she can, but she too is older, and it's hard to get back to the island as often as you can. So for me, I like to live through her stories and hear about Guam and the resilience that she and her friends and brothers and sisters had and her family had.
Thank you. I think we are all going to have similar stories where our great grandfathers and great grandmothers were here during the war and, had to basically fight to save their lives, and just also hearing about the stories of, the survivors that are alive right now, and, the boys that were taking the military, rations and supplies and things like that, and they were going along with what they had to do to save their lives, but they seized their opportunity to escape. And then there was another woman who was chosen to teach Japanese, and she was elected. There were different groups, and she was elected to be the one of the Chamorros who was going to teach everyone that was in the concentration camps Japanese. And all these people that just had to do their best and fight for their lives so that we could still have our Chamorro culture and take back our island and be here today.
Rose Laguana and Valerie Concepcion share the same sentiments.
The stories that, to try and spare the gory details, but meeting with my grandmother earlier this afternoon, she was sharing some stories with me. And to hear what she lived at 10 years old and what her family did, it was all about just surviving and doing what they can to make sure that they get through it. And it was a long time for them to live through that, almost nearly 3 years of fighting the war, of surviving the war, and again being resilient people. So I don't want to stray away from the idea of devaluing anybody when it comes to war, but the resilience of them is just really something to be praised for. So 75th anniversary is a beautiful thing, and I really hope that when we get to the 100th, that the survivors will still be around to tell their story. So it's good to be here.
Actually, Josh, the Lieutenant Governor, was telling us a lot of stories earlier, right? And it's just so amazing how from that sad phase of Guam, the Guam survived, and look at where it is now. It's just so amazing, and it's really something to celebrate that that Guam has come this far.
Reporting for Guam's News Network, I'm Tomas Maglonia.